Welcome back to part 9 of our seminar series on goal setting or why goals fail. And up until this point, we hope that we've been able to demonstrate through the process not only, not necessarily telling you exactly what to do, but kind of show you the traits of what makes people succeed and also what makes people fail. And through that process, you should be able to identify what you need to do to properly set your goals more efficiently, so that you do have a greater chance of succeeding. We've talked up to this point about vision, strategy, and the fact that the vision has to come before the strategy, believing, and persistence. And today we're going to finish it off with, this whole thing is going to come to a head with learning. And we'll explain what learning means in a second. But you must have accountability. And we also want to say that those who monitor what they do succeed. So what does learning mean? When we say learning, what exactly does that mean? And what we want to talk about is that we need to learn whether or not we're going in the right direction. We need to know whether or not course corrections are necessary. And so I guess the question would be is, how do you know you're going in the right direction? How do we know that things are going rightly? If the direction is the appropriate way or whether it's not. And a lot of times I think people just throw stuff in the air and hope and pray that it's going to work out. If I throw it up in the air, maybe it will stick. Maybe it will work. And it's in my opinion, things need to be much more calculated. We need to be much more calculated about whether or not we are going, because if not, it is just a guess. It is a guess on whether or not the strategy is going to work. You can have the greatest vision in the world. You can have the best strategy. You can believe. You can be the greatest, most persistent, positive person in the world, but without keeping records of your exercise and nutrition, your results will not be predictable. And so, the point I want to make today is the importance of accountability. Accountability to yourself, accountability to a coach, accountability to a group. And the best way to be accountable to that is by keeping records of your exercise and nutrition. It's what I am such a gigantic fan of the HFPN system, NASM, ShareCare, because it's all based on keeping records of the exercise and nutrition. And the reason why that's so important is because it's so predictable on what's going to happen if we keep an accurate record of everything. The reason why recording progress is so important is because it can be both motivational and educational. And the reason why is, if we're just throwing stuff in the air and hoping, how do we know if the direction is actually working? So when we're recording everything, we know for sure whether or not we talk about long-term, short-term goals, and if we're looking at long and short-term goals, then and if we're recording our progress, we're going to know whether it's working or not. And if it's working, think about how motivational that is. Think about going to school and getting grades. And when you get good grades, how motivational it is to get good grades and how much more you want to do when you're doing well. And, educationally, think about the feedback that you're getting from your grades to be able to judge how your performance is in the classroom. Fitness-wise, it's no different. Think about, if we're talking about motivation and motivation being one of the keys to long-term success, you have to do everything possible to keep your motivation levels high. So if you're monitoring what you're doing, if you're recording your behavior, recording your progress, and you can see that you're doing well, your motivation level is going to be at an all-time high. But if you're not recording all of that, you're going to be going based on thoughts and emotions and feelings, and what we were talking about before, living on truth rather than living on emotions and fitness. Because when you get to that truth, when you record that, and you can see that you're making great progress, you're going to be accountable to your coach, you're going to be accountable to the people around you, you're going to be accountable to your friends, and you're going to have motivation that's going to keep you going and going and going and going. The other thing too, from an education standpoint, is it's going to give you great feedback. It's going to give you feedback on what you're doing. What you're currently doing and the feedback that it gives you is you're going to learn more about yourself, you're going to learn more about the fitness industry, and you're going to be able to understand over time, over this, recording your progress, recording your behavior can't be for 12 weeks. It's over a lifetime. You're constantly recording things because you learn. You learn about yourself, you learn about fitness, you learn what works for you, you learn what works for others, and that's how I got to do what I'm doing. That's how almost all coaches learn how to do what they're doing. It's that constant behavior and constant process of recording everything and then learning from it. You will learn more about yourself and more about the industry and fitness as a whole if you record everything that you do. And we talk a lot about, proper behaviors, and proper behaviors come from knowing, learning, understanding, and doing that over time. And that most flawed strategies, even the best of strategies, can be flawed if you're not recording your progress and behaviors, because those perfect strategies will get beaten down by emotions and feelings because your mind and your feelings and thoughts will take over if you don't know how you're doing. So the best of strategies will be flawed if you don't record your progress. And you will have a tendency to have longer, more frequent, more consistent, and more thoughtfully just gain progress if you're constantly doing these techniques. And the learning, if learning book smarts is one thing, but street smarts, and I guess I would equate recording progress to street smarts, because it's a continuous learning about yourself. Street smarts is experiences. Street smarts comes from experiences. Recording what you're doing in fitness is about experience, and the more experience you have, the more learned you're going to be, the more dangerous you're going to be longer term, and it will bring all of this, the vision, the strategy, the belief, the persistence, and the learning. All are incredibly important. All have their place in the pecking order, and I don't think one is more important than the other. They all have to be there together. They all have to be there strong, and together the learning into knowing what you're doing, recording what you're doing, putting it all together, it's going to be very, very powerful for you. Try it, because most people don't do it. Because when you learn continuously to not only improve, so the whole reason why you write everything down is to learn continuously, but you do it not only to improve, but you also learn to do it to discern right from wrong. So how do you know whether what you're doing is right or it's wrong? That's the whole key. To know what's right from wrong and then make the right choices. And the only way to discern that is to go through this process. The more you learn, the more knowledge you have, the more wisdom you have through recording your progress, and then being able to discern what's working, what's not working from feedback will give you the ability to know what's right from wrong. And through that process and through all of the things that come together, you will be able to get yourself to a place where your goals are much more efficient, much more productive, and that you no longer are being frustrated by progress you're not longer making. You are now being victorious in your goal setting long term and through the rest of your life, and ultimately getting to the place where you can maintain your progress forever. And so I really want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for this entire series. And if you have questions, please visit our website. Please send us questions directly, and where I can speak to you more directly about these different steps in setting your goals appropriately. Thanks so much for joining us.